Hey there, in this video we'll take a look at how to quickly create API test and integrate it with GitHub Actions using the new Rapid API testing tool. So let's get started. Hey there, welcome to Automation Bro. If this is your first time on this channel, thank you for clicking on this video. I create new content related to testing and automation every week. And if this is something you're interested in, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of my new content. So let's first talk about what Rapid API is. So it is a large API marketplace with over 20,000 APIs. So if you're looking for a particular API for your application, such as a weather API or an SMS API, or maybe something like an email API, you'll most likely find them here. So not only you can consume APIs here, but you can even publish them. So if you or your company has an API, you can publish them here so that others can use it either free or through a paid subscription. So Rapid API will create a single API key for you, which you can use for all of your APIs that you're subscribed to. And they also have some great monitoring system to check the performance of your APIs. Now they recently came out with their own cloud-based API testing tool, and it allows you to create comprehensive tests that you can validate REST, SOAP, and GraphQL APIs. So it has some great features such as you can create functional API tests really quickly through their interactive UI. It has centralized location to monitor all the API tests, and you can run them in multiple geographical areas too. And it helps in integrating with CI/CD pipeline through dedicated webhooks. So the best part is that they have a free version which you can use, and it gives you up to 100k API calls per month. And then if you need more, you can pick and choose whichever one that works best for you. Alright, enough about the features, let's jump right into the tool and see how it works. And for that, click on the sign up button over here, which will open up this page for you so you can provide your username, email, and password, or sign up with GitHub, Facebook, or Google. So once you sign up, you will most likely land into this place, which is their marketplace. So from there, simply head over to the testing site, which you can do by just putting in testing over here. So switch marketplace to testing, which will open up this dashboard for you. Alright, so if you created a new user, most likely you would see this empty, just like the one I have. So what we're going to do is create a new API. So we'll click on this button, create API. So here you have some options. You can first of all provide the API name that you will be using. So in this scenario, I have two options. Either I can upload the API specs over here through either OpenAPI or Postman definition, or I can use some third-party API. So here I'm going to be using GoRest.co.in. Now, if you watch my API test automation with JavaScript tutorials, over there I use this website, which was GoRest.co.in, and we access this different resources over here. So for this, make sure you sign up, because once you sign up, you will have access to this REST console. As well as you will have access to the actual token, which I go over here. So you can use this token when you will be actually making your post, put, or delete calls. So once you're signed up here and you have access to the token, we will be going over back to our Rapid API testing. And here I will name this GoRest. And then I'm going to click on OK here. So this will create this API for you. So I'm going to open that up. Now at this moment, we don't really have a test. So we can create a test by clicking on this create test button. And I will name my test. Since I will be working with the users API over here, I will name this users and click OK. All right, so this is where you will be actually creating your test. So it says the test is empty. Click below to add the first step. So I can either click here to add a step, or I can click here to make an API call. So here we will first make an API call, and then we will add a test. So I'm going to click there. And it's pretty simple. It tells you, okay, what's the URL you want to use, which should be the API method. So we can do get, post, put, or delete. So we're going to start off with our get call. So I'm going to be making call to this API over here. I will paste that and hit send. All right, there you go. If you notice, we just got a 200 response, and then we got all of this code back returned. So to add this to our test, I will click on add to test button here. Now it gave me all of this option here. So it gave me, first of all, the headers. What's the status? In this case, it's 200. We got the data code, which is also the status that we are getting back, which is 200, and some metadata over here, as well as the response. So I can decide which assertions I want to pick here. So I can either do assertion on the header, on the data code, or on the meta. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to unselect all of this and do the actual assertion on the data.code. So this will make sure that this is 200, and I can select what I want to verify, if whether this data.code exists, or if the value is actually a type number. So it knows that this is type number, so it's actually picking it up over here, or I want to verify if it's equal to 200. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to verify if it's equal to 200. And instead of doing API response, I will name my response users response. So something to know here, this is once you put something in here, this will create a new variable for you. So make sure you remember which variable name you're putting here. So I'm going to copy this for now, and I'm going to click on OK here. So this just added a test for me over here. Now to run the test, you can simply click on save and run. Now this will actually start running your test over here. So if you notice, it says green, and if I click on that, there you go. It just made a get call to that, and we got a 200 response back, and it made sure our assertion is actually working. So this is our response. It actually worked, and the 200 assertion that we put is also working. Now, just to make sure our test fails and we can verify it so that we clearly know that this assertion is working, I can change the 200 to 400 over here. And if I save and run again, this time it will fail. There you go. Yep, it failed. So it's saying, okay, the data code is 200, but we were expecting it to be 400. So at least we know that our session is working. So this is pretty good. And really quickly, you just got a response back. You know what's working and what's not working. So I'm going to save it here, won't run it again. So this time, what we're going to do is instead of a get call, we will add a post call. So to do that, we will simply click on open over here again. And I'm going to change this to post. Now to do a post call, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to my REST console. And here to make a post call, we have to provide this token here, which is the bearer authorization token. I'm going to copy this. And in my headers, I'm going to click on this plus button. And here I'm going to select authorization and paste my token. So it's going to paste the bearer as well as the token there. Now after clicking send, it actually gave me 422 code error over here. Ignore this 200 because the way this API works is every time you run it, it will give you a 200 code unless there's a server error or something. But the actual code that you're getting here is the one we want to verify. So we got 422, and it's actually telling us that the data is something that we need to provide over here. So in this sense, it's telling us we need to provide email, name, gender, as well as status. So what I'm going to do in the body, provide that using a JSON format. So I'm going to change the format here, click JSON, and then I'm going to provide me my actual body over there. So I'm going to simply copy and paste here. So I'm doing test@mail.ca. I have my test name, and I've provided the gender male and the status active. So I'm just going to simply change this test mail because I've actually used that before. And I'm going to hit send here. Now there you go. We got a 201 status code back, and we got our response back too. Now I'm going to click on add to test. Here we're going to get the same option. I'm going to minimize this, or basically deselect all of this. I just want to make sure my data code is 201. I'm not going to verify my data over here right now. And I will say this is the value equals 201. I'm going to click on OK. So this created another test for me. And if I notice here, what I'm going to do is just minimize this. Now I have a post test, which is users, and I'm making sure that it should be equal to 201. Now let's see what happens if I actually click on save and run. So it's running the test here. And it failed. So let's take a look at what happened. So it's saying, oh, the user response data code is 422, and we were expecting it to be 201. So what happened here? So if I open this, show details, notice it's saying that email has already been taken because we used that email already. So how can we actually provide it a new email every time we run this? So let's take a look at how we can do that. So for that, I'm going to do an add step here. And here I have a bunch of options. So if you notice, they have some more assertion options here, different API calls that you want to make. And you have some other options, for example, setting a variable, setting some condition, or do some code run or faker generator. So the one we actually want is this one, faker generate. I'm going to click on this and then open this up. So it gives me some option of what I want to generate. So here I want to generate a fake email. So I'm going to click on the address. From there, I'm going to pick email. So let's see, where's that? Actually, it's not in the address. It's going to be in the internet most likely. Yep, right for there. And I'm going to select email. So this will, something like this over here will generate a new email for me. So it's really nice. It also gives you a preview so that you know what it's generating. Now I can add a variable name for my test generated or for the email that's been generated. So for variable, I'm going to keep it simple. I'll just call this email. And then what I'm going to do is move this on top of my post call. Now I can provide this variable to my HTTP post call. So in my body, I'm going to simply come here and then change this to email. So make sure the way I'm doing it is I'm adding 2 squiggly brackets, 2 open squiggly brackets, and 2 closing squiggly brackets. And within that, I'm going to put email. Then I'm going to hit send again or save and run and see if this works this time. All right, there you go. It's a success. And if I open that, it's obviously we are seeing 201 here. But if I open the show details, let's see over here. If you notice, we have a new email that's been generated. So it's laurie76@yahoo.com. Now, every time I run this, it's going to generate a new email for me. So this is really easy for you to actually generate a data and make your test really dynamic. So you can do all of this literally with no code. So this is really amazing what this tool provides us. You can quickly get your test created as well as generate random data as quickly as possible. So I'm going to click on OK over here again. And this time what we're going to do is I'm also going to verify that my variable email is actually what I'm sending is being returned back. So what I mean by that is I'm going to create a new variable, a new assertion here. And I'm going to do assert equals. And I'm going to verify that my user response .data.email should equal to be the email that we created. So once again, I'm going to use the squiggly brackets there. And I'm going to say email. So I'm verifying, hey, the fake email that you just created and that we're sending it to the server over here is actually what we're getting back returned in the response. So I'm going to do save and run, see if this works for us. Okay, so this failed. Let me just quickly check why this failed. It's saying the user response data.email not found. And let's see why that happens. So it's probably because I provided the wrong information. So if you notice, we have the user response here. So I have to do .data and then there's additional data over here, which I just need to provide. So that's what I missed there. So I'm going to quickly go back and make change. So I'm going to do user response .data again. And then I'm going to send again. Okay, what's happening is instead of doing user's response, I'm doing user response. So that's a stupid mistake on my end. So I'm going to fix that, run it again. There you go. It's a success this time. So our test worked. We are verifying that the email is this, which is actually what we got back over here too. Awesome. So that's working. Now what I can also do is, other than just asserting this, I can group my test. So if you notice it's getting a little bit untidy over here, I can create a folder called a group. And then I can call this one, let's say my get test. And I can actually store this over here. I'm going to move this one underneath this. And then I'm going to create another one for my post. I can do that over here. Just call this one post. And then I can put all of this over here too. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of using a get call, like where we are providing this particular users and we are doing a verification on that, I'm going to create another call, do a get users ID, and I'm going to pick the ID to the one that we just created over here. So let's see how that would work. So I'm going to do add step and I'm going to create a get call. Now here, what I'm going to do is use the same URL that we were using over here. And then for the ID, I'm actually going to pick what we are getting back from the response for this post call. So let's see what we're actually getting back. So if I open up this response here, do show details, this is the ID we are getting. And this ID is unique every time we actually create a new user. So how can we actually pick this up? So let's take a look. So if I do add step here, I have an option to do code run. So if I click on code run, I can provide some code over here. And in the code, I can actually do pretty much whatever I want. So it takes a JavaScript code. So I can actually say, hey, what the response you're getting back from that response, I need this particular variable. So to do that, what I will do is simply copy some code and paste it over here. So the way this works is we are just doing basic JavaScript through the context is where the response we're getting back. So we do the context of this overall API, and then we do .user response, which is the one that we created. And I'm going to do .data.id. And in the over here, I will pass in the ID. So this ID or whatever you put in here would be your variable. So I'm going to minimize this. And then in my test, I'm going to add that here and just do ID. So this will pick up the random ID that will actually get saved from here. So, and for my variable, I don't have to put anything over here because we're not doing anything. I'm going to add in my assertion. So for my assertion, I'm simply going to verify that I'm getting a 200 response back. So I will say my user response. I can in fact pick all my variables from here. Say the user response.data.code to equals, I believe it should return 200 or 201. I'm not too sure. So let's run this, see if this actually works. I'm going to do save and run. Okay, so something failed. Let's open up to see what happened. So it's saying cannot read property data of undefined. Okay, so the reason for that is because I'm using users post response. Instead, it should be just users response. That's good enough. I will just do users response, and then I'm going to simply run this to see if this works for us. Okay, so we ran our test. This time, if you notice, it actually picked it up. It's showing 1450, which is the one we created over here. So that's good. Our variable is working. But instead of the response, like I said, I didn't know it was 200 or 201. We got a 201 back. So that's a really easy fix. I will go back to my test and then simply change this to 201. And when I will run this, everything should work. Yep, now we have a success. So if you notice what we just did, we created a basic get call to the users API. We are verifying if we are getting the response 200 back. Then we created a random email which we are passing to our post test. Then we are verifying if that email is being returned in our response. Then from there, we executed our code to store the ID from our post call. And then we are passing that ID to our get call. And we are verifying if we're actually getting a proper 201 response back. So we just created this overall test really quickly. And this was pretty much all of this was done with zero coding. So that's what I like about this tool. It's really easy to set up your test and actually run it. Now, if you notice, we have been hard coding this URL over here, which is gorust.co.in. But what if you want to make it dynamic? Let's say you have a test environment or a prod environment and you want to run it based on different environment that you're running it on. So we can do that by creating an environment variable. So far the variable we have been creating, they were local variable. We can create something called an environment variable. To do that, I'm going to click on over here and you will notice that it says a test environment. I will click here and I can provide the name of my environment. So I will call this one, let's say test. And then I can provide my environment URL. So I will say the key would be the base URL. And then I would provide the actual URL, which is this one. I would remove the users from there because we want to make it generic. I'm going to click OK. Now I can pass this in my actual test. So if I go back to my test, I click on users, I can change this. And over here, I can just use base URL. Okay, so if you notice this time I added this 3 squiggly brackets. And the reason for that is since we're using special characters in our base URL, we want to pass in 3 squiggly brackets so that it knows we're using special character. And also in my environment, I made sure that I'm picking test over here. And what I'm going to do is remove this public API as we don't need this anymore. And then let's run our test to see if this works. All right, there you go. We got a success. And if you notice, it's now picking up our test URL, which we passed in our test environment. And in the environment, if you notice, this is also saying test. So this way you can dynamically provide the environment variables. So if you're running it, let's say on the QA environment, you can pass in the QA URL here. If you're doing it in production, you can pass in the production URL. So you can go ahead and actually make that change in pretty much in all your other calls also. But for this, I'm just going to leave it this way. And what we're going to do is move on to our next step, is looking into what other options we can do with this. So I have an option to schedule my test. So how that works is I can click on schedule and I can select the frequency. For example, I can say, hey, run my API test every minute or run it every 5 minutes. Or maybe if I want to do run it nightly or every day, I can select every 24 hours and I can select the environment that I want to run in. The option I get over here is where do I want to run it? So there are a bunch of locations that you can run this in. So for example, North Virginia, Hong Kong, Mumbai, Singapore, Tokyo, or basically any other location that you want to run in. So I can select that, let's say Mumbai, and I'm going to click submit. So now I have a test schedule, which will basically run in 24 hours and it will run in that particular environment. So that's pretty cool, right? So we can actually schedule our API test that way so that it's running every day or every whatever schedule time that you fixed over here. And it will just run it and you don't have to set up some cron job or something because this tool is actually doing all of this thing for you. The last thing we're going to look at is how to integrate our test with GitHub. So click on the settings button over here And then in the CI/CD integration section, you will see that they have provided us an API. So you can make a GET or a POST request to this API, which will trigger the test. So we can trigger this API remotely using GitHub Actions. And they actually already provided us an example. So I'm going to open that up here. So they have provided this file which we can use, which will basically trigger our GitHub action. So I've already done that, and I'm going to show you how that works. So I've created a basic express route. You don't have to worry about how this works, but main thing to notice is I created this workflow rapid.yaml file, or YAML, I don't know how you call it. And over here, I pretty much copy pasted the code that we were just looking at. And then I also copied this actions.yaml, which is also in their example that they have provided. So the way this works is, the only thing I changed is added my own test ID as well as added my own environment. Now, if I make any change to my express route over here, let's say instead of changing hello world test, I will make it hello world. And here I will change it to GitHub action. So what this will do is it will actually trigger a new GitHub action, which will basically trigger our new API test. So let's take a look at how that works. So I'm going to push this and then head back over to GitHub. Okay, so I'm back in my repository over here. And if you notice, it's actually triggering a new build, which just did it 33 seconds ago. Now, if I click on that, it will tell me obviously the changes I made, and I don't care about that right now. I will simply click on this arrow button here, and it says all checks have passed and our GitHub action actually passed. So I'm going to go to details, and then the details, we can see what happened. So it set up our job. So it's basically set up the virtual environment. Then it ran our test. So here it's actually running the test. So if you notice, it's providing the test ID, the location, and our environment. And in the execute test option, it ran our test over here. And it actually told us, okay, the test status is complete, it worked, and it provided us this URL. If I open that URL, there you go. So it actually gave us all that results which of the actual test run. So this is what we did, right? We created a get test, we have our assertions here, and the post route as well as another get route for that. So all of this is actually working, and we just did that using a GitHub action. Now how that works is you can actually go into my Rapid API test to see how this is working. So I've set up this workflow as well as this action YAML file, which is actually pretty much doing all of the job. And it's basically the copy of what these guys were doing over here. So that's pretty much how you can actually set up your own GitHub actions with Rapid API. Alright, so to wrap it up, given this tool was recently launched, I think it already has some great features built in, which will help you to get your API tests quickly created without writing a single line of code. And I'm sure they have loads of new features in the pipeline already to make this an even better tool for everyone. So I would highly recommend for you guys to go ahead and try to create some new tests in this tool, and let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts about this new tool. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That's it for this video guys, I will see you in the next one.